The Titanic, a name that's become a symbol of tragedy, human ambition, and the power of nature. Over a century later, we're still fascinated by that fateful voyage. But what if the Titanic had never sunk? What if that iceberg had been just a shadow in the dark, leaving the grand ship untouched? How would the world be different today? Let's explore this alternate timeline. Let's rewind to 1912. The Titanic was more than just a ship. It was a floating palace, a technological marvel of its time. It represented the peak of human ingenuity and luxury. On board were some of the wealthiest people in the world, alongside immigrants chasing dreams of a better life in America. It was a vessel of hope and ambition. Now imagine, no disaster, no tragic loss of life. How would history have unfolded? First, the Titanic would have arrived in New York City to a hero's welcome. The press would go wild, and the ship would become a global sensation. Headlines would rave about the wonder ship that proved humanity's dominion over the seas. The Titanic would have solidified its place in history as a symbol of triumph rather than tragedy. This success would boost public trust in engineering and luxury travel. More massive ships would follow, pushing boundaries even further. Ocean travel might have become even more extravagant, with Titanic-inspired innovations leading the charge. Luxury liners could have evolved faster, transforming international travel into a booming industry much earlier than it did. Imagine ships with unparalleled opulence, designed to outshine even the Titanic. The era of ocean liners could have been an age of unmatched luxury and innovation. Now think about the passengers. Those who survived the sinking became forever linked by tragedy, their stories immortalized by the disaster. Without that event, they would gone their separate ways, their lives unfolding in vastly different ways. Figures like John Jacob Astor Ivy, one of the wealthiest men aboard, might have used his influence to shape industries or politics. Astor's fortune could have fueled groundbreaking projects, creating ripple effects through history. He might have funded technological advancements or even contributed to early efforts in space exploration. Similarly, other prominent passengers such as Benjamin Guggenheim and Isidor Straus might have left even greater legacies, impacting everything from philanthropy to business practices. Their continued presence could have reshaped industries and changed the course of history in profound ways. Then there's the impact on ship safety. The Titanic disaster led to sweeping reforms, lifeboat regulations, 24/7 radio communications, and iceberg monitoring systems. Without the sinking, would these changes have happened? Or would we have seen another, perhaps even deadlier disaster before action was taken? The Titanic's loss forced the world to take maritime safety seriously. A disaster-free Titanic might have delayed these life-saving measures, leaving countless lives at risk for years. Imagine a world where complacency continued, where safety wasn't prioritized until it was too late. The lessons learned from the Titanic's sinking were hard, earned but invaluable, shaping how we approach engineering and travel safety even today. Without these reforms, maritime travel could have remained a high-risk venture, with lives continually endangered by preventable accidents. And what about culture? The Titanic has inspired countless books, movies, and documentaries. James Cameron's 1997 film became a cultural phenomenon, grossing billions and immortalizing the ship's story. Without the tragedy, there'd be no heart-wrenching tales of love and loss, no haunting songs like "Nearer, My God, to Thee." The Titanic's legend has shaped how we think about heroism, sacrifice, and human error. Without it, our collective imagination would look very different. The cultural void left by the absence of Titanic-inspired art would be immense. Stories of human resilience and the fragility of life might have been told differently, changing how we connect with history and tragedy. The Titanic story has become a lens through which we examine human ambition, hubris, and vulnerability. Without it, a significant piece of cultural identity would be missing. Let's go deeper. The Titanic sinking marked the end of an era, the so-called Gilded Age of unbridled confidence and excess. The tragedy forced society to confront its hubris, its blind faith in progress. If the Titanic had made it, that reckoning might have been delayed. Perhaps we'd have charged into the 20th century with even more arrogance, setting the stage for larger, unchecked disasters. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a warning sign. Without that warning, who knows what might have happened? The unchecked optimism of the early 20th century could have led to even greater lapses in judgment in industries beyond maritime travel. From aviation to construction, the lessons of the Titanic were echoed across sectors. It became a symbol of the cost of hubris, shaping how societies approach technological progress and risk management. And let's not forget the human side. Over 1,500 people lost their lives. Each one of them had a story, a family, dreams. If the Titanic had never sunk, those lives would have continued, rippling through history in ways we can't even begin to calculate. Descendants who were never born might have changed the world. Scientists, artists, leaders, an entire generation of possibilities lost in the icy Atlantic. What might they have achieved? Consider the untold inventions, masterpieces, and movements that were never realized because of those lives cut short. The personal losses extend beyond numbers. They represent a collective loss of human potential. Every life lost on the Titanic was a thread that could have woven a different tapestry of history. Finally, there's the Titanic itself. Today, its wreck lies 2 miles beneath the ocean, a haunting reminder of human vulnerability. It's become a site of fascination and exploration, driving advances in underwater technology. Without the tragedy, the Titanic might have been scrapped for parts or lost to time, its story fading into obscurity. The sinking gave it a kind of immortality, turning it into a legend that continues to captivate us. The wreck has become a symbol of reflection and reverence, a place where history feels both distant and immediate. Without it, the ocean might lack one of its most compelling mysteries. The Titanic's story continues to evolve as technology allows us to explore its remains, offering new insights into the past. So, what if the Titanic had never sunk? The world might have been more optimistic, more ambitious, but also more reckless. Safety measures could have lagged, lives might have been lost elsewhere, and our cultural landscape would look very different. The Titanic sinking was a tragedy, but it was also a lesson, a turning point that shaped the century that followed. It's a story of what was lost and what was learned, of dreams shattered and lessons etched into history. The echoes of that night in 1912 continue to influence how we think, build, and dream today. Without the Titanic's tragedy, the course of history might have been brighter in some ways, but darker in others, a reminder that even the most monumental events carry layers of complexity. Hit that like button and subscribe for more.